So now, a couple of shows ago, I talked about how I didn't expect Georgia to make the top four. But the more I think about the mentality that goes into that, and granted, obviously we talked about how many Florida State players sat out, and that's not lost on me. But I think the mentality that goes into my own expectations of them not being included in the top four, I think I've got to change my stance because I realize, and this seems ridiculous now, that that's kind of a conditioned mentality that the committee has cultivated this year and really over
Been
several years.
brainwashed, Wes.
Right? Like, so now that we've seen some of these games play out, like it just seems too obvious. If the committee wanted to put Bama in, again, no hate to Bama, I think they probably should have been there. Fine, but to put Texas in, who granted finished the season strong, but if we're looking back, they had a much worse loss than Georgia did, and it was to an Oklahoma team who had some bad losses as well. Georgia's lone loss of the season is by 3 points to a pretty good Alabama team. So when and that game was when the key members of our receiving corps clearly weren't healthy, as you can see. You go back and look at the tape. I think that's an infinitely better loss than Texas. It should have probably been number one Michigan, number two Washington, number three Alabama, number four Georgia. People wouldn't have had to deal with an immediate Georgia-Bama rematch in this scenario either.
Okay.
But it's all a business. They were never going to let this happen. And we'll talk about this more in the opinion segment.